We are live. Hey, how's it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, January the 6th. And I got myself a cool t-shirt today. As you can probably see, I'm wearing a Cobra Kai t-shirt, which I picked up the other day. I thought this was so cool. I had to get one. And if you are a fan of Cobra Kai, let me know in the chats or let me know in the comments if you are a fan of Cobra Kai. I know it's cheddar cheese, but it's being a Karate Kid fan back in the 80s. Hey, I had to watch that series when it came on Netflix for sure. So sporting a cool new t-shirt. Even got a matching one for Harvey as well. So we sometimes play karate. Strike first, no mercy. There we go. All right, so Cobra Kai is awesome. Yeah, darn right it is. That's from Lee. So I'm assuming that the audio is coming through loud and clear. Just give me a thumbs up. Let me know if it is coming through loud and clear on your end. Would appreciate it. Coming through. Hey, we got Jose joining in. Welcome, Jose. Nice to have you joining us. The Cobra Kai. That's right. Strike first. Hi-ya. Good stuff. Good stuff. Again, I'm assuming the audio is coming through loud and clear. And if it is coming through loud and clear, let me know. Type in the chat. Just say loud and clear if it is coming through loud and clear. Good stuff. All right. Yeah, this was the other day. My wife and I, we were at the mall picking up a few things. And we were in, I believe it was where was it? The Gap or Old Navy, one of them. I'm not sure. I think it was the Gap. It was. We were in there, and they had these t-shirts in the kids section. And I said, oh, how cool is that? I'm going to get one for Harvey, right? And sure enough, I seen the t-shirts there, and I was just wondering, I wonder, would this fit me? And I actually looked, and I got the extra double XL in kids. So this is in the kids section. And lo and behold, the double XL kids shirt fits me. And I got a small one for Harvey. And I was just thinking, if this is a double XL and it fits me, like how big are kids these days that they're fitting into adult-sized t-shirts? Kind of puts things in perspective, but I'm just glad that this fits me. So I'm wearing this is a kid-size Cobra Kai t-shirt, and I thought it was so cool. So myself and Harvey, we got matching shirts. Anyway, enough about the shirt. This is about you. These video chats, welcome. The way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition. So if there's any specific challenges related to your workouts, any specific challenges related to your eating or building muscle, losing fat, any of those questions or topics of discussion, feel free to type them into our chat window there. And we are streaming on both Facebook as well as on YouTube. So I see that we have some people joining in on YouTube, which is our regular spot where we've been doing these video chats for years, but we're also streaming on Facebook through my profile as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. So if you're joining in on either one of those platforms, you can type in your questions in the comments or in the chat window there, and I'll answer those questions as we go. So let us see who is joining in today. I see Lee's joining, Jose, AJ, Robert's joining in. Steven's joining in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you tuning in. All right, let's, without further ado, let's just kind of jump right into this. So here we are, January 6th, first live video chat of 2023. It's going to take a while to get used to saying 2023. Every year when the new year rolls around, I always got to get used to saying the new year again. But I'm just curious, how is your fitness program going for the new year? One thing that I have posted up, especially over on my Facebook group, and I sent out a couple emails about this as well, is the New Year's 30 by 30 challenge. And this is something that I'm doing. A lot of my personal coaching students over on the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program are doing it. And I've encouraged people over on Facebook to do it as well. And I've been getting a lot of feedback about it. So basically what it is, it's a 30 by 30 challenge, meaning commit to doing at least 30 minutes of exercise every day for the next 30 days. So throughout the month of January, try and nail the consistency component of exercise to lay the foundation. And it's a simple habit-based goal. So it's when it comes to goals, we have two types of goals. You have outcome goals, and then you have process or habit goals. The outcome goal is I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle. I want to increase my bench press. I want to run a 5-minute mile, whatever. Like those are outcome goals. The habit process goals are what can you do to lead to the outcome? Because quite honestly, we can't achieve an outcome goal in and of itself. Like you can say, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds of body fat or whatever the number is, but we just can't go and lose 20 pounds of body fat. But we can take actions and perform habits that will lead to that outcome. So when you're setting your goals, there's nothing wrong with setting outcome goals, but you need to break that down into action steps. What are the daily actions, the outcomes, the daily actions that will lead to the outcomes? That's what I'm getting at. So you need to kind of break your goals down. So I'm just curious, for those of you who are watching now, what are some of your goals and what are some of the action steps that you're going to take towards achieving those goals? Because that's what's ultimately going to determine your success or failure. All right, you need to focus on the daily action steps. What are those things you're going to do? And for me, like daily exercise is one of those habits, one of those habit-based goals that I focus on, and hence the reason for the whole 30 by 30 challenge. And I'm just going to break that down for you. With this challenge, it doesn't necessarily mean weight training every day. It could be any form of exercise. The goal is to be consistent, to be the type of person who shows up on a regular basis. So I usually like to alternate weight training one day and cardio the next, right? That's my usual routine. And so one day I might go to the gym and do a strength training workout. Next day, I'll probably do a cardio workout and alternate it back and forth like that. So that's what I've been doing for so far in the new year, having that consistency. So I've gotten in a few gym workouts, gotten in a few sessions on the indoor trainer, doing some cycling workouts. I had even got outside for a cycling ride as well. Today, my wife and I, we went for a hike. We climbed a local, it's a challenging hike in our local area. It's called Topsail Bluff, which is a steep climb from the beach, climbing up a steep like cliffside. And that was a challenging one. I actually posted some pictures over on my Facebook page. If you are friends with me over on Facebook, which if you're not, I encourage you, friend me up over on Facebook. Got the link down in the description below this. And I posted up some cool pictures there, but that's a beautiful hike, challenging one, something I haven't done in a long time. And I got to say, it was a darn good workout, right? So it was a fun one. But what are you doing? What are you doing now to keep yourself active? And if you haven't started yet, then this is a great way to kind of kick off the new year on the right track, is to commit to 30 days of exercise. And you can do any type of exercise. Again, strength training, cardio training, getting outside for a walk, could be doing some sort of a fitness class, whatever. Could be a yoga session. I mean, working on stretching and mobility. Anything that you would classify as exercise, right? It doesn't have to be all high intensity, balls to the wall workouts. It could be gentle, low intensity exercise. And that's the key to being consistent, is knowing how to alternate the higher intensity workouts with the lower intensity ones. And this is what I refer to as my yin and yang training system. All right, where one day you're doing high intensity, the next day you're doing low intensity. So for me, it's usually like high intensity weight training, and then alternate that with low intensity cardio. Or even if you're doing more of cardio-based training, you could be alternating high-intensity cardio with low-intensity cardio. But this idea of the polarized style of training, where you're alternating high intensity one day and lower intensity the next, is a great way to keep up that consistency. And some days you may need to do more lower intensity sessions to keep that consistency in check. And that's the most important thing, is developing the habit and developing that consistency. So if you're feeling extra tired, you're extra busy, you didn't sleep well or whatever, and you're kind of feeling a bit run down, don't do nothing, but do some sort of active recovery exercise. And this is where getting outside for a little walk, You know, a 30-minute walk would be ideal, or maybe an easy 30 minutes of cardio at the gym, or even just doing some easy weight training. You know, it doesn't always have to be repping out to failure. Maybe you just go in there and you do like a deload style of workout where you're going through the motions with lighter weights, stopping your set short of failure to build that conditioning, to build that habit, and to be the type of person who shows up on a regular basis. And this is the number one thing that's going to determine your success or failure over the long term, is the consistency. I mean, you could have the best program, you could have the best diet plan, you could have everything calculated and laid out with the sets and the reps and the macros and all that. But if you can't follow it consistently, none of that stuff's going to matter, right? You need to develop the habits and the consistency first. Once that's in place, the rest is easy, because the rest is just manipulating variables from that point on. But until you develop that consistency and that routine, then that's the number one thing to focus on. And over in the Muscle After 40 program, that's one of the things we do challenge our coaching students with, is how do you structure that in? How do you make it work even when you're working a full-time job, even when you've got kids and you're busy with all kinds of other things outside the gym that are demanding your time and attention? How do you still make it work? That's the number one thing, and that's what we really focus on helping people with. So again, if you would like some help with planning out a realistic action plan, feel free to reach out to me and we can chat about it. All right, so let's see. I'm going to jump right in now because we got a lot of people tuning in, a lot of questions, comments coming through. Good stuff. Let's see. Mr. TS is joining in. Appreciate the support. Thank you for sponsoring the super chat over on YouTube. Says, I'm doing GreySkull LP strong lifts with 3 squat sessions a week. Was too much. Big legs, heavy squats. I'm doing that. I'm not familiar with that one. I'm familiar with strong lifts, but I'm not familiar with the GreySkull LP. I'll have to look that up after we finish this video chat. But 3 squat sessions a week, however you cut it, that's a challenging workout. That's something that's probably going to be like a short-term workout. It's not something you're going to be able to do day in, week out for the long term. And my personal experience, I've done some similar type of programs, like the 20 rep squat program. If those of you are familiar, that's an old time program. Iron Mind wrote a book about it called Super Squats back in the 80s, I believe it was. Is that when that book was first published? But the classic 20 rep squat program, which was basically 3 times a week, you would work up to 20 squats, and each workout you strive to add 5 pounds to your previous best and just build it up. So you start off very conservative, and then each workout you try to add 5 pounds and continue to get 20 reps. And with that program, it was structured for a 6-week plan. And most people are going to pretty much hit their ceiling at about 6 weeks. So when you're doing something along those lines, we're training a major exercise like the squat multiple times a week, is probably going to be a short-term program, something along the lines of 6 weeks before you're hitting that threshold of where it's starting to tax your recovery abilities. You're starting to borderline overtrain, and you kind of need to switch it to a more manageable deload style of training program. But it's great to push yourself occasionally with programs like that, because they can really help to spur your fitness onto a new level. But you got to manage it properly, because it's not something that you're going to be able to do week in, week out over the long term. But that's pretty cool. Thanks for sharing that. And thanks for mentioning this. I'm going to look it up after we finish this video chat. So we got Lee's joining in. Cobra Kai is awesome, and they certainly are. Again, as I mentioned earlier, digging the t-shirt. Jose is joining us. Welcome. AJ is joining us. Jose and Robert, loud and clear. Thank you. Glad to hear it. Jose's got a question. Any tips on how to maximize muscle gain while doing 3 to 4 days a week of boxing and Jiu Jyutsu? Ooh, that's a challenge right there. I have some experience with this because back in the day, I did participate in martial arts. In fact, how I really got my main jump into structured fitness was through martial arts. Before then, I was kind of dabbling on my own, working out with weight training and exercising, but there was nothing really structured. But back in junior high, that's when I got serious involved with martial arts. And my martial arts instructor at the time was also did weight training. And again, this is back, way before the days of the internet and all that stuff. So information wasn't as easy to come by back then, but I basically did a lot of martial arts training and did some weight training. And the good thing was, when I was younger, teenager, I had the recovery where I could actually handle weight training and martial arts. But as you get older and you got more responsibilities and the recovery is not the same, you're going to have to find a fine line of balancing that out. And if you're doing 3 to 4 days a week of jiu-jitsu and boxing, that's pushing your recovery. I mean, in my case, I was doing 2 days a week of martial arts and then doing weight training probably 3 days a week in addition to that. And that was pushing my limits of recovery back then. So it's going to be challenging for sure. Now, with those workouts, you really need to look at how they're structured, because maybe you're doing some form of strength training along with those workouts. Maybe it's some sort of body weight conditioning or different types of strength training in there. So if that's the case, then you're really going to have to manage it. And the thing that you need to look at here is your recovery, because I want you to visualize as if we have 100 units of recovery, right? Like, just stick with me here. Imagine we have 100 units of recovery. It's not like you have 100 units to recover from boxing, 100 units to recover from jiu-jitsu, and 100 units for weight training. It's 100 units total. How are you going to divvy that up and still make it work, right? Like, how are you going to break it up? And you need to look at what's your priority, right? If gaining muscle is the priority, then obviously you're going to have to dedicate more time and energy in towards the muscle building workouts and scale back on the boxing and the jiu-jitsu workouts. Vice versa, if the boxing and the jiu-jitsu is a priority, like maybe there's something special coming up, you're getting ready for a tournament, or you're getting ready for a boxing match or something like that, and you want to prioritize that, then obviously weight training is going to be put on the back burner, and the jiu-jitsu and boxing is going to be put on the front burner. Right? It's like when you're cooking something on the stove. Like, you can have multiple pots on the stove, but what's on the front burner, right? What's getting the most of your attention? What's on the front burner, and then what's just simmering on the back burner, right? So that's the way you got to look at it. You can't have everything up on the front burner, and because you're just going to be overwhelmed and burn yourself out. So you really need to balance it out. And there's no right or wrong way to go about this, because it really depends on your individual goals and your priorities. But the big thing is you need to factor in the recovery, because if you're not recovering from all those workouts, you're not going to maximize your progress. And it's kind of like wasting your time, because you're burning the candle at both ends, and you're putting in all this time, all this effort, but you're not getting the results that you should be. So you need to ensure that you're getting adequate recovery. Now, nutrition is going to play a big role, right? You got to make sure that you're fueling the body, right? Getting enough nourishment so that you can fuel muscle growth and also recover from those workouts. You got to make sure that you're getting adequate sleep. So, I mean, those are things that are going to have a big impact as well. But the big one is structuring your workouts accordingly. And personally, if muscle building was my main focus, I would probably be doing 2 to 3 weight training workouts, and probably a couple boxing / jiu-jitsu workouts, and that would be where I would cap it. I don't think I'd be able to handle 3 or more of those other workouts and still make gains in the gym. But that's just my personal take on it. But you're going to really have to experiment and see what works the best for you in this situation. All right, who else we got joining in? Current news. Hello, Lee. Do we need to add running along with weight training to shred our body, or 15, 20 after weights cardio would work? I'm a bulky lifter. Please advise. I want to shred my body, and I've failed many times. All right, so shred the body, aka lose body fat, right? That's basically what you're asking here. Do you need to run? No, you do not need to run. If you enjoy running, you're built for running, and running is a priority, then yeah, by all means run. But if you're a heavy guy, chances are you're not a good runner, right? Most people who are good at running tend to be slender build. They're less than 200 pounds and usually closer to probably like 150 pounds or somewhere in that range if you're a good runner. If you're 200 pounds or more, that's a lot of weight to be carrying and a lot of impact on your joints when you're running. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's probably not the optimal form of cardio, especially if you're trying to do it consistently and trying to burn body fat. I would recommend some form of lower intensity cardio to help make the consistency easier and less stress on the body, less stress on the joints, less stress on your knees and your ankles and your hips and all that stuff. I personally like cycling. That's my top cardio source that I do. So I'll do that as my number one form of cardio. But other forms of cardio could be just using the cardio machines at the gym, right? Whether it's the bike or the stepper or the rower or the elliptical or whatever you have at the gym, like any of those types of cardio machines are fine. And lower impact cardio is ideal. Even just getting outside and going for a walk. Like walking is one of the most underrated exercises when it comes to fat loss. I mean, back when I was competing in bodybuilding, walking was one of my top forms of cardio that I would do. One, because it's so easy. Like anybody can do it for the most part. And it doesn't require any special equipment. It doesn't take a lot of time. Like you literally just haul on your sneakers and go out the door. You can go for a walk. So that's one thing that I would do a lot of. And I would, when I was getting ready for bodybuilding competitions and really focusing on pushing the envelope for fat loss, I would usually walk for a minimum of an hour a day. Now, sometimes it was all in a single session. Sometimes it was broken up over multiple sessions, but I would shoot for that time. I would always time my walks, and I would shoot for a minimum of an hour a day with walking along with the weight training. And I found that worked really well. One, because it's low impact, right? Like it's not a lot of stress on the body, but it was still elevating the metabolism, still burning body fat, and it was active recovery exercise. It wasn't breaking the body down and stressing it out. It was actually adding extra exercise that allowed me to burn more fat, burn more calories without burning myself out in the process and causing a lot of aches, pains, and stress. So that's what I would recommend for bigger guys who are looking to lose body fat. Now, this goes without saying, I shouldn't, but I'm going to say it anyway. You're not going to lose body fat if your nutrition is not in check. So like you can't out train poor nutrition habits. So if you've failed in the past, probably you need to work on the nutrition as well. And one of the things we need to focus on is when it comes to nutrition, a lot of people have this all or nothing mindset. So they think like, I'm going on some crazy low carb, low calorie cutting diet, and they might just drastically cut their calories and try and lose the fat as fast as possible. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can make because it's not sustainable and it's not enjoyable, and your workouts and energy levels suffer. And then not only that, you're relying on willpower and motivation to get through those hunger cravings, and you're feeling deprived all the time. And you can only suffer it out so long before you eventually say, screw it, this isn't fun anymore. I can't stand being hungry. I can't stand being irritable. Can't stand feeling weak. And then you're going to say, well, I need to eat more. And then you're going to go back to your old eating habits and then gain back whatever weight you lost. So when you're trying to make progress with your nutrition, slow, steady progress is the way to go. So let's just say you're currently eating 3,000 calories a day now. Try scaling that back by 10%. So like 2,700 calories. Like don't think creating like 1,000 calorie a day deficit or something like that, or these extreme cutting diets. Just a little bit less than you were before. Like just progress, better than you were before. That's all it needs to be. And if you can fit that in there, along with the consistency with the weight training and the cardio, you're going to be able to make progress. And it's going to be slow progress, but it's slow progress that you can sustain over the long term. And that's the most important part here, because what's the point of like starving yourself and losing a bunch of weight in the short term if you can't sustain it and then you end up binge eating and gaining it all back in the long term? Like, who cares if you lose 20 pounds in the next 3 months and then 6 months later you got 30 pounds back on? Like, you would have been better off doing nothing, right? In the long term. So you need to look at not only how fast can you lose it, but can you sustain this? And that's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make is it's like, I don't give a shit how like about my diet and exercise for weeks or months on end. And then all of a sudden, once I start my cutting diet, I got to lose it as fast as possible, right? Like it's totally irrational, but this is the mindset that so many people have is they'll neglect themselves for weeks or months. Like just think of going through Christmas and the holidays. How many people let themselves go, didn't exercise, didn't do anything. And then of course, January rolls around. Well, that's it. I got to lose the weight as fast as possible. So now they're going on some crazy extreme cutting diet, working out like a madman, and burning the candle at both ends, and they just can't sustain it. And then they do that for a few weeks, and then finally they say, "Oh, this is too hard. Screw it." And then they go back to their old habits, gain the weight back again, and then ultimately it's like, "Oh, I tried and failed again." It's not that they're the problem is their approach, right? They're just trying to do too much too soon, right? You need to be manageable with this. And the thing is, if you can't sustain it long term, like if your diet and exercise program is a short term thing, like I'm going to cut for the next 30 days or 90 days or whatever, then the results are temporary. It has to be a lifestyle. It has to be something you can do day in, day out, week in, week out for years, for the rest of your life, basically. It has to be a lifestyle. So you have to have that in mind. And again, that's what we really focus on in the whole Muscle After 40 blueprint, is sustainable fitness and fat loss and making progress over the long term. Not just about how fast can you diet and suffer it out in the short term, but like how can you set up a system where you enjoy the process, so you don't only get in shape, but you stay in shape. And then it's like you're in shape years later, right? Like that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for like, well, where do you want to be in the next month or the next 3 months? Like, where do you want to be in the next year, next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road? Like we want to be in shape 10 years into the future, not just, in the next 30 days. All right, Steve is joining in. He's a regular to the chats, saying, "You rock, mate. Thanks. Appreciate the support." We got another Steven joining in. Thoughts on lifting shoes, specifically for squats and deadlifts? It depends. With deadlifts, the best thing to use is a very thin sole shoe or even deadlift slippers. Back when I was competing in powerlifting, I liked to wear Chuck Taylor Converse. That's the ones that I used to wear. If you're not familiar with them, they're the thin, flat sole canvas shoes. No arch, no cushion. It's just a very thin sole, but it had really good grip. Like the rubber grip on the Chuck Taylor Converse would stick to the gym floor and provide very good base and very good grip, so your feet didn't feel like they were slipping. And it also provided a bit of ankle support because they were the high top sneakers, right? They're the old school classic basketball sneakers, right? That's what I'm talking about. But they work really good for deadlifts, and they also work good if you're a wide stance squatter and you squat with your feet wide and you like to engage the hips. So for deadlifts, definitely a thin sole shoe, something like Chuck Taylor's. I mean, you can get a lot of similar style shoes to that now, but the thinner the sole, the better, because with the deadlift, you don't want a thick shoe, because the thicker your shoe is, the thicker the sole, that's more distance you actually have to lift the weight. So if you can have the thinnest sole possible, so your foot is as close to the floor as possible, that's actually less distance you have to pull the weight, and it'll put you in a stronger mechanical position. So some people actually wear deadlift slippers, especially guys who do conventional style deadlifts. And the idea is to have the thinnest sole possible, and it's just literally something on their feet so they're not lifting barefoot. And like a lot of power lifters will wear those in competition as well, especially the guys who like to use the conventional narrow stance. If you're using a wider stance, you want something with the grip and the ankle support so you can push out to the sides. So the Converse or a similar style shoe would work well for a sumo deadlifter or a wide stance squatter. If you are a more of a narrow or medium stance squatter and you need some support in the heels, or you need elevated heels because you find it hard to crack parallel, then you can get the proper squat shoes with the elevated heels. And the thing with squat shoes is they have the arch and the elevated heel, but unlike a running shoe, which has a soft cushiony arch, which compresses under weight, the powerlifting shoes have a solid sole. So like some of them are literally made of wood, like have wooden soles. So like there's not going to be any compression there. Some of them are really hard plastic that's not going to compress, but it's a solid sole shoe that's designed to put your heels in that elevated position, but it's not going to compress under resistance, under the force of your body weight and under the force of the weight that you're lifting. So that's the main thing, because if you're using a running shoe with that soft cushiony support, when you squat, it's compressing the cushion. So you're actually taking some of the force out of your lift. And I mean, for the average recreational lifter, it's not going to mean it's not a big deal. Like for the average guy who goes to the gym and just works out to get in shape, it's no big deal. Like when I work out, I usually work out in just regular sneakers. Like I don't care about squat shoes or anything like that because I'm not powerlifting anymore. So if it takes a few pounds off my max lift, I don't care. I'm not in a competition. I just want something that's comfortable to work out in. But when I was competing and when I was pushing for maximum numbers, I would be very specific about this stuff and I would wear the proper footwear. And the proper footwear can give you that little marginal gains. Again, it's not going to make or break your lifts, but it's marginal gains. And if you're, shooting for personal bests, then marginal gains count. So you want to look for the proper footwear. So that really, the squat shoe is going to depend on your squat style. Like if you have no trouble squatting full depth and keeping your heels flat on the floor and all that, then a flat sole shoe like the Chuck Taylor Converse will work fine. If you have the tendency where your heels want to lift off the floor and you find it hard to break parallel, then an elevated squat shoe will work. Another one that you could wear as well, a lot of lifters do this, even work boots. Like just get a pair of steel toe work boots with the elevated heel, because those are solid and that's not going to compress under a heavy load. So some guys will literally wear work boots as squat shoes and make that work. So it's kind of like a cheap version of a squat shoe, because some of these proper squat powerlifting shoes are quite expensive, right? Like you can go start Google searching online. I mean, you're looking at well over $100 a pair for a lot of them. Whereas you can go pick up a pair of steel toe work boots, or maybe you got a pair kicking around at home that you can wear right now and get a similar benefit from it. So if you're looking for a budget option, the steel toe work boots might work for you. All right, let's see who else we got. Moving on. Let's see now. Second, now I lost my place in the chat. Where was I? We're talking about squat shoes. AJ is joining in, asking for the best advice to manage or even completely heal a shoulder impingement. Injured my right shoulder when I was 22, and it still bothers me years later. I've seen a doctor, but don't think it helped. Oh, well, that really depends on what you did to injure it, because unfortunately, sometimes injuries, if you've torn something, strained something, had a bad injury, they can haunt you for life. I mean, depending on the type of injury. Like I've had injuries that I did years ago that still bother me today. So you may not be able to completely heal it. What I would recommend, if you haven't already done so, it might be worthwhile to look into seeing a good physiotherapist, preferably someone who's used to working with athletes, and try to get that personal assessment and see if they can offer any advice or suggestions. I mean, it may require surgery depending on what it is. Like if you have a partial or full tear in the shoulder or in the rotator cuff or something along those lines, maybe the only way to fix it is through surgery. Like tendon tears don't heal on their own, right? So if the tendon is torn or partially torn, it's not healing on its own. Usually surgically repairing it is the only way to truly fix it. If it's muscle fibers tend to heal on their own. So like sometimes you might get a muscle tear, and if it's no tendon or ligament damage, very often those muscle fibers will fuse back together and heal. But it's when you have injured the tendons and the ligaments, very often they do not heal on their own, right? They will heal over, but you'll still have the weakened tendons and ligaments, because it's like it's partially torn, but it may be still connected, but not fully. So in those cases, surgery is usually the only true option to heal it entirely. And even then, depending on how bad the injury is or what you've got done, it may not ever be 100% perfect. So the best advice that I would offer, if you haven't already done so, is to see a physiotherapist and get someone who can, check you out personally, analyze your mobility, and, just assess your situation and offer some advice there. All right. Let's see. Steven's 6 days, 6 workouts. Good stuff. So he's on track for the whole New Year's 30 by 30 challenge. Congratulations. Keep it up. You're on the right track. Got another Steve join in. Lots of Steves today. I think this is Steve is the most common name in our video chat so far. Well, welcome, Steve and Stevens and everybody else. Eagle Eye John jumping back in and says, should I back off sets if I haven't healed or I'm sore from my last workout? Yes, if you're still sore from your last workout, you can do like an active recovery day. Like what I would normally do, let's just say you're scheduled to do a particular workout, but you're really sore. What I'm in my situation, I would probably opt for a cardio session instead and give your body an extra day of rest from and strength training, right? So like if you're still sore, give yourself another active recovery days, do some low intensity cardio or something like that to keep the exercise habit alive, still reap the benefits of daily exercise, but do so without breaking your body down. Or you could even do some other forms of stretching or mobility, but something that's keeping your body active. Even if it's just getting outside and going for a walk is better than nothing. But if you wanted to, you could still train the body part, but you would do so with a lighter workout and kind of treat it like a deload workout where you're training lighter, doing easier exercises, stopping your sets short of failure, and just kind of going through the motions. Sometimes you have to do those, right? Depending on what it is you're training for in your particular situation stuff. We all have to go through phases where you listen to your body, right? If you're not feeling fully recovered, you're not feeling fully strong, and then you don't push yourself. Like you have to learn to be in tune with your body. And when you're feeling strong and you're rested and you're recovered and you got lots of energy, those are the days when it's okay to push yourself. When you're kind of not feeling it, maybe you didn't sleep well, maybe you're not fully rested, maybe there's a bit of lingering muscle soreness, then those are the days when you kind of have to scale it back and do a lower intensity workout. But I would recommend doing something versus nothing. And this is where learning how to modulate your intensity, right? Not always being like foot to the floor, like pedal to the metal, right? Just like when you're driving your car, if you have two speeds, either foot flat to the floor or foot flat to the floor on the gas pedal, that is, or foot flat to the floor on the brake pedal, you're not going to be able to drive. Like, can you imagine as soon as you turned on the car and put it in gear, foot stomped to the floor? Like you wouldn't even get outside. You wouldn't even be able to leave your driveway because you would crash. Like you wouldn't be able to pull off your street. You know, you need to be able to modulate your speed accordingly, right? Based on the situation. Same thing with your workouts. Like it's not always balls to the wall, repping out to failure, training hardcore. Sometimes you have to go easy, right? You have to learn to modulate it based on how your body's responding in your situation. Right? It's not always this all or nothing, right? There's a lot of in between. That's where the secret to long-term success is in mastering that in between the all and the nothing. Hi, Steve is saying, I use resistance bands and this boxing game is for Wii since I'm in a wheelchair. Let me see. Was that the question earlier about boxing and Jiu Jyutsu, or am I let me just see. Because I had someone asking earlier about boxing and Jiu Jyutsu. Where was that to? Give me a second. No, that was a different guy. That was Jose. Never mind. He says, I use resistance bands and a boxing game for Wii since I'm in wheel. Hey, if it works for you, cool. I remember the old Nintendo Wii. My nephews had one, and I played it sometimes. Like there was all kinds of. There was tennis and there was boxing, and I think there was golf, and I don't know. There was a whole bunch of games, but like that was brilliant. Like that Nintendo Wii, because it actually got you off your ass and moving. I mean, if you're playing that for any length of time, you'll burn a lot of calories. Like heck, even if you're sitting down and playing it, you know, I mean, you just, you're engaged in your upper body, you're still burning a lot of calories, and it's fun. It distracts you mentally while you're getting in some exercise. I mean, a lot better than just sitting down and playing regular computer games. So that's pretty cool. You're using that and then using the resistance band. So you're making it work. Much respect, man. I love that. Like, instead of looking for excuses, you're looking for like, how can you make this work? Because a lot of people who are in a wheelchair, they'll use that as an excuse. Like, I can't exercise. I'm in a wheelchair. Poor me. But in your situation, Steve, again, kudos to you. You're making it work, right? You're not using that as an excuse. You're looking at what can you do instead of what can't you do, right? You're not hindered. You're liberated there, right? Like you're taking advantage of what you have available. Again, thanks for sharing. All right, let's see what else we've got there. Jorgen, I think that's how I pronounce your name. He said, thoughts on doing one lift a day for 5 or 6 days, doing 2 work sets of 8 reps to 10 to 15-minute workout. It's better than nothing. One lift a day. I'm assuming you would just one lift and then alternate it every day. So, for example, bench press today, squat tomorrow, deadlift the next day, row, curl, shoulder press, something, I don't know, and do a 10 to 15-minute workout. If it works for you, do it. I mean, is it optimal? No, I think you could have a much better structured program than that, but it's certainly better than nothing, right? Look at it. Is it better than what you're doing right now? Like if you're currently doing nothing, then one lift a day is way better than nothing. So look at it from that point of view. Look at it as if it's better than you were before, then do it. Is it optimal? No, right? You can have a much better structured program, I think, for maximizing strength gains and maximizing your fitness. But again, if it gets you moving and gets you started in the right direction, then by all means do it. I mean, like you got to look at your current level. And for people who are just brand new getting started, sometimes we need to make it so ridiculously simple to just get that momentum moving forward and not even worrying about what's optimal, just worrying about what's better than you're currently doing right now. Even if it's just getting outside and going for a 10-minute walk around the block. Like if your current exercise routine is diddly squat, nothing, it's walk to the fridge and then jog to the toilet when you got to go. if that's your current exercise routine, then putting on your sneakers and like going for a walk around the block is progress. If your current strength training is nothing, then doing one lift a day is better than nothing, right? Like something's better than nothing. So that's my thoughts there. And what I would recommend is once you build the habit and you're doing this consistently, like maybe after a couple months of doing this, chances are you're going to look for ways to expand on it naturally. Like, for example, if you started the habit of just going for a 10-minute walk, that would grow. Even if you just committed to doing a 10-minute walk, just the fact that you get outside and start doing it day after day after day, you're going to build on that because you're going to start getting out there and you're going to enjoy being out there. You enjoy the movement and the fresh air, and it's just naturally going to grow. So the same thing with this workout. If you started, you said, you know what, I'm just going to commit to doing one lift a day, right? I have a hard time committing myself to exercise, but I'll just do one lift. And you mentally tell yourself that that's all you have to do. And it's only going to take me 15 minutes to do it. It's mentally easier to get started. Whereas if I said, hey, you got to go to the gym and you got to work out for an hour, that's a big mental commitment. And it's a lot of people say, oh, screw it. I don't have an hour to work out. I'm not going to do anything. But if you say, you know what, it's only going to take me 15 minutes, you might say, you know what, I got 15 minutes. I'll make it work. So then you go and you do it. And then once you've done that 15-minute exercise and you've completed your one lift, I mean, maybe you call it a day and you say, hey, that's good enough. But chances are the fact that you made the effort to go to the gym, you're there, you've got a lift done, you got the momentum started, chances are you're probably going to end up doing more, right? That's the reality of it. The hardest part of going to the gym is walking in the door. That's the hardest exercise you're going to do at the gym is just get your ass there and like walk through the door. Once you're in there, the rest is easy. It's like coasting downhill from there. But the hardest part is just getting that momentum moving, getting your ass off the sofa and to the gym and just get the ball rolling. So if this helps you to get that ball rolling, then by all means do it. It's better than nothing. You got Bobby joining in and he made it. Welcome, Bobby. Glad to have you tuning in. And Steve loves the Cobra Kai shirts. Thanks. I'm proud of it, I must say. All right. I have no mercy for you, boy. I'm going to strike first. No mercy. Robert saying, I do full body for a month. Then I change to push and pull for a month. I need to switch it up. I'm not sure if you're asking, I need to switch it up or do I need to switch it up? First off, when it comes to switching up your workouts, you don't have to go in there with a predetermined timeline. Like say, I'm going to do this for a month and then I'm going to do that for a month and then I'm going to do this. Do it for as long as you're enjoying it and as long as you're seeing progress. Like if you're doing a full body workout and you enjoy full body workouts, you're seeing progress with full body workouts, keep doing full body workouts. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Vice versa, if you like doing push-pull and you're making progress with push-pull and you enjoy it, keep doing push-pull. Like, do it for as long as it's working for you. And then once it starts to plateau and you feel like, okay, I'm not getting the same results from this, or you're getting bored, which usually results, like, your motivation and your progress very often correlate. Like, if you're making progress, your motivation's usually sky high, because I mean, you're seeing progress, you're getting results, you're putting in the effort, you're seeing the fruits of your labor, and that motivates you to keep going. Whereas if you're not seeing progress, then your motivation's kind of going to be flatlined. It's like, oh, I'm putting in the work, I'm not seeing anything. What's the point of doing this? So use all these variables, like your motivation and your actual progress, and adjust things accordingly. And in my case, I love total body workouts. I've been doing those for the past 4+ years. Now, it's not always the same total body workout. Like, I will change it up. Some days I will maybe emphasize certain muscle groups over others, but it's when I go to the gym, I usually do like at least one exercise for each major muscle group. Sometimes I'll do a little bit more. Like, if I want to focus more on an arm workout, I might throw in a couple extra arm exercises. If I want to focus more on the legs, I'll do a couple extra leg exercises. But I usually hit all the major muscle groups over the course of my workouts. And I'll change it up. So like some days it's lower reps, some days it's higher reps, change up the exercise variation. So there's a lot of variety built in there. But I like that idea of total body workouts because, one, it fits with my schedule. And the main benefit of a total body workout is, even if you don't get to the gym as consistently as you like, you're still hitting all your major muscle groups frequently. So, I mean, like, even if you only got to the gym once a week, well, at least you still hit all your major muscle groups that week. Whereas if you're doing a body part split or push-pull or something like that, if you only got to the gym once that week, well, you only hit so many muscle groups and then you neglected a lot of others. So that's one of the drawbacks. And it could also be looked at as a positive, meaning if you're one of these guys who you're hitting the gym every single day and consistency is not a problem, you love to work out, then maybe a split routine where you're hitting different muscle groups each day is ideal, because you're letting, while one muscle group is resting, another one is working, and it allows you to have that consistency. So it's not right, wrong, good or bad. You need to look at your situation. Like, back when I was younger and before kids, before career, before responsibilities, and I was living at home with mom and dad, and I had nothing to do but work out all day. The joys of youth. I used to work out a lot, and I did a body part splits because that allowed me to have that consistency. But now that I got a lot more on my plate, I don't have the luxury of going to the gym as often as that. So these days I find it more efficient to do total body workouts, and I enjoy it. And another plus is you don't get that delayed onset muscle soreness, because if you're only doing 1 or 2 exercises per body part, you're not really destroying the muscle. You're not annihilating it where you get painfully sore afterwards. So that's another little plus. It's like a little bit of stimulation for all your major muscle groups, and then you rest and recover. And even though you did a good workout, like, you don't feel aches and pains all over. Whereas if you go in there and like you do 20 sets for chest, chest is painfully sore the next day, or you do 20 sets for legs and legs are painfully sore the next day. With total body workouts, if I'm only doing 1 or 2 exercises, I don't get that painfully sore the next day feeling. And I enjoy that because I don't like being sore. I like feeling good. Well, that's my opinion on the workout splits. All right. Bobby's got a question. It says, on Monday, I did a really heavy lower body full set deadlifts, 3 sets, 275, 8 reps, then finished with a personal record, 1 set, 325, 2 reps, and then 2 assisted. I think there's a part 2 to this question. Well, it's lower body again, and I still feel sore. Should I work through it or take it easy? What I would probably recommend, especially seeing you hit a personal record, and that was probably that heavier than normal, probably just do a cardio day. So that would still give your legs some exercise. You're flushing the muscles with blood and helping to increase circulation there to help aid with the recovery process, but you're not breaking down and stressing it with high intensity strength training, right? You need to give yourself some extra time to rest and recover, especially when you push it really hard. So I would personally do a cardio day, and then, Or you could kind of go through the motions with an easier weight training workout, one or the other. Like it's a low intensity weight training workout where you're doing easier exercises, stopping your sets short of failure, or just do a cardio day instead. Kind of use your own discretion on that based on what it is you're trying to achieve. Most guys, this is a generalization, but it tends to be pretty true. Most guys tend to not do enough cardio as it is. So I would probably, on days like this, hey, use it as an excuse to get in an extra cardio session. Robert's saying, I think that's the same question again. Yes, it was. Same question twice. Okay, never mind. I already answered that one. Steve, believe it or not, even though I'm in a wheelchair, I did Taekwondo. Cool. All right. I mean, obviously, I don't assume there was much kicking involved, but hey, you could certainly still do some hand strikes and maybe some board breaks. I mean, I respect that. So, Steve, you're doing Nintendo Wii and resistance bands, and you did Taekwondo. Way to go! Right? Again, I love it. You're making it work. Right? You're making it work. All right. Where else are we to? We have Humanoid Stereo 1. Wow. There we go. That's an interesting name. Do you think body weight? Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. Do you think body weight exercises are better for over 40-year-olds? Not necessarily. I mean, you can include body weight exercises if you like, but body weight exercises, there's pros and cons. One, they're convenient. You don't need any special equipment, right? They're great. I mean, they're very effective because whenever you move your entire body through space, there's a higher level of neuromuscular activation. So that's why if you do push-ups to failure, you'll get a really good pump in the chest, even more so than if you bench press to failure. If you do squats to failure, you'll get a really good pump and a lot of muscle stimulation in the legs, even more than leg presses to failure. Pull-ups to failure, more muscle stimulation than pull downs to failure. Anytime you move your entire body through space, it creates more neuromuscular activation. You're more heightened level of awareness because your entire body is moving instead of just the limbs. So they're really good from a muscle stimulation point of view. However, there are some drawbacks to body weight exercises, meaning one, you can't adjust the resistance very easily. So if you're really heavy, maybe your body weight is too much, right? Or vice versa. If you're really strong, maybe your body weight is not enough and you need to add resistance. So it's hard to adjust body weight exercises from that point alone. Like I know a lot of guys who are not strong enough to do body weight exercises. Like say, hey, grab the pull-up bar and bang out a set of pull-ups. Most people cannot do that. Even most people in a gym who are working out regularly cannot do pull-ups. So but they could do lat pull downs. So that's where the advantage of exercise machines and free weights and machines and resistance bands and all those type of things have an advantage over body weight. But if you're strong enough to do them and you can do them, then by all means incorporate it. But is it better? Not necessarily. No. I mean, if I would personally if I had to choose one or the other, like machines or just body weight, I would choose machines because you have much more variety of exercises. You're in control of the resistance. And but we don't have to have this either or mentality. You can do both. So I will do some body weight exercises, and I will do some machine exercises, and I will do some free weight exercises and resistance bands and cardio and do it all, right? You can combine it all. We live in this wonderful day and age where you don't have to be either or. You can have and, right? Body weight and machines, body weight and free weights, body weight and resistance bands or whatever, right? So that's what's best for people of all ages, regardless if you're 40 or over 40 or under 40. Hi, Jose is joining in. Happy New Year, Lee. I've been doing the 30-day challenge. Congratulations. And have not a day. I guess you have not missed a day, I would assume. I have a question for a small injury. What is the difference between sports tape and kinesiology tape and can be used every day? I think it's the same. I really do. I'd have to double check on that, but from my perspective, Sports tape and the kinesiology tape is the same thing. Can it be used every day? Yeah, you can. It doesn't provide a lot of support. I've used it myself for some injuries. Like I had a while back, I had strained my knee, and when I would be going for like bike rides and stuff, I bought some. I think it was called kinesiology. I don't know where it's to. I thought it was over on the shelf there, but it was some sports tape or that stretchy tape, and I did it, and it felt like there was a little bit of support, but it's really light. Like it's not the same as if you had like a proper knee sleeve or a compression sleeve or something like that, or like a knee wrap or an elbow wrap or whatever. So that stuff, I mean, try it. If it provides any type of relief or support, by all means use it. And I think you can use it regularly. Like watch some YouTube tutorials, because there's a gazillion of them out there that show how to wrap, the different joints, whether it's a knee injury, an ankle injury, an elbow, or whatever. You can find out how to wrap it properly. But even when it's wrapped properly, it's very mild support. Like there's not a lot of stretch in those tapes. A much stronger support would be a sleeve. Like you can get these proper like knee sleeves and elbow sleeves that you can put on, and they do provide support, especially if you get the good high quality ones like a lot of strongman and powerlifters would wear. Some of those provide a ton of support, but even some of the lighter ones that you probably pick up in a typical sporting goods store or like at the drugstore or somewhere like that, they do provide some mild support, more than you get from the tape. The advantage of the tape is you can support some awkward areas. Like if you want to support your shoulder, there's really not much you can do there as far as, there's no sort of like a wrap or something for the shoulder, but you might be able to tape it and provide a little bit of support. So if you have some awkward areas that you're trying to support, the kinesiology sports tape can help. But again, it's mild support at best. But it's as far as using it daily, there's no problem with that. You can usually put that on, and it can last for a couple of days before you need to change it out. Like once it starts to get a bit, like the ends start to wrinkle up on it and stuff like that, then you want to change it out and put on some fresh tape. But I would sometimes put it on and leave it on for a day or two. Like you can get a shower with it, or some of them are waterproof. Like you can swim with it on and everything else. So that's another cool benefit of the sports tape over the wraps. You'd never swim with wraps on, but you could swim with these sports tapes on. All right, where was I to? That was Jose's question, and he likes the shirts. Good. If you like the shirt, give the video a thumbs up. Right. I like the shirt. I hope they come out with another season of Cobra Kai. Right. Like this is. I don't binge watch a lot of shows, but this is one. I prevent myself from binge watching. I limit myself to one show a day, but it's one that it's like watching a train wreck, right? It's just like, it's cheesy. You kind of know what's going to happen and everything else, but you just can't stop watching it. That's what I found with the Cobra Kai, right? It's one of those things. When it came on Netflix, I said, oh man, I got to watch this. And I was like laughing to kill myself. And like, this is so cheddar cheese and so, but it's still, I couldn't stop watching it. Anyway, moving on. Got injuries today. Jeez, injury questions galore today. Right? Stay safe, people. After 8 months of injuries, today I'm officially injury-free. Okay, well, this is a good one. All right? Is this an injury-free or healed up after injuries? So 8 months of injuries, I'm officially injury-free. The last a few months on these chats, I've asked your advice on some of these injuries, and your advice has helped in the recovery. So thank you. Good. I'm pleased to hear that. Now, the big one, you're feeling good. Don't let your guard down, right? Because one of the biggest causes of injury or re-injury, or making a minor injury a major injury, is how you respond after you feel like you're on the mend. Because I've seen this happen a lot, and I've been guilty of it myself, where maybe you hurt yourself, you pull a muscle, you strain something, you injure yourself, and it's only a minor strain. Like maybe you minor ache or pain, like, oh, I was doing bench presses and I strained my chest. Oh, I better lay off that. and then you take a week or so off and eat chest training. And then after that, you say, oh, I think it's pretty good. And then you go back and start training heavy again. And then you take that minor strain and then turn it into a major injury where you actually pull or tear a pec or something. Or, like you got a little ache or pain in your knee and you say, oh, I better take it easy. And then you feel like, oh, I'm losing ground because I took it easy. And then you try and jump back too quick, too soon. And then you end up, really causing some damage. So when you're on the mend, it's very critical to progress slowly. So like literally your first workouts back, like go through the motions, warm up weights, leave the ego at the door. I know we've all heard that before and it's easier said than done, but like drill it into your brain however you have to, but leave the ego at the door and just go through the motions with light weights. Like I'm at the stage now where I don't give a shit about what I look like in the gym. Like if I'm in the gym and I'm working out and there's a teenage girl who's lifting heavier dumbbells than me, I say like, good for you. Like I have no ego. I'm not going to try and keep up with her. Or I see someone lifting heavier than me, I'm not going to try and keep up with him. Like I couldn't care less, like I'm going to do my thing and that's it. Like sometimes my wife and I were working out and if I'm not feeling it, like maybe I'm a bit sore or something's hurting, maybe she's going to lift heavier than me. And that's literally happened. We've had workouts where she's lifted heavier than me on certain exercises. And I'm like, that's cool. Good for you. Right. I'm going to do me. I'm going to do my thing. And I'm going to stop within my limits. I have no ego when it comes to the gym anymore. And I couldn't care less. Right. Whereas in the past, it wasn't like that. I'd always have that, bit of a macho attitude. Like, oh, I can't let them outlift me. I got to try and push heavier. And I've even seen that before where guys will finish their set and then someone else will come over and like grab the next heaviest set of dumbbells and do the same exercise. And then they almost feel like they got to go back and match what the other guy did, because they can't let their ego get the best of them. Right. So they're always trying to, keep up with the Joneses in the gym, if you will. Right. Keep up with the broses in the gym. But try not to get caught up in that trap. Like listen to your body. And if something doesn't feel right, for God's sakes, don't do it. Right. That's the most important thing when it comes to preventing injury and also causing a minor injury to become a major one. Jose is saying, now you need to get the Eagle Fang shirt. Oh, if I could get the Eagle Fang, that's it. I could pass on the whole Miyagi-Do thing. I don't think that's, but Eagle Fang, oh man, if they had that one. Eagle Fang and Cobra Kai, right? Miyagi-Do is too vanilla. But yeah, right. If I had that, I'd alternate them one every day. That would determine my workout of the day, right? I'd wear them back to back each day to the gym. One day it'd be Eagle Fang, next day it'd be Cobra Kai. All right, next one. We got Neil joining in. Good morning. Obviously, Neil's over on the other side of the globe. Good morning to you. Good evening from me. Love your shirt, by the way. I just learned that rice is also made of sugar, and my father advised me to minimize sugar to avoid diabetes. What's your recommended carb foods? All right. Rice is not made of sugar. All right. Rice is, depending on the type of rice, right? Because there's a lot of different types of rice, but rice can be a fast absorbing carbohydrate, which can spike your blood sugar. All right. But it's not made of sugar. Rice is still a starch. Sugar is a sugar. Like they're different. Starches and sugars. But you can still have fast absorbing starches. And rice is one of those, especially if you're getting white rice or any of the different variations of white rice. It can be a fast absorbing carbohydrate. But because you're eating carbohydrates doesn't automatically mean you're going to get diabetes, right? Like it doesn't work that way. It's a much more complicated process than that. But ultimately, if you need the carbohydrates to fuel your workouts, rice is a great source of carbohydrates. And depending on the type of workouts, because again, it's a good source of starchy carbohydrates, which give you good energy, helps to replenish your glycogen stores, helps to give you that muscle fullness in the gym. So I personally eat rice, right? I mean, it's one of my carbohydrate sources. It's not my only carbohydrate source. Like I'll eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and different types of starches and carbs, like potatoes and sweet potatoes and rice and oatmeal and pasta and breads and whatever, fruits and vegetables. Like I eat a wide variety of food. I don't just eat, rice or whatever. But you got to look at the bigger picture. Right. So the big one is to think of your overall diet and the amount of carbohydrates you're consuming. Because what's going to cause the biggest spike in blood sugar is not the source. Like even if you ate pure sugar, but you ate a small amount of it, like say a spoonful of sugar in a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, that's not going to have a big spike on your blood sugar as much as a cup of rice. Like one spoonful of sugar is much less carbohydrates than a full cup of rice. So the cup of rice would have a bigger spike in blood sugar because of the volume, right? If you eat 50 grams of rice or 50 grams of pasta or 50 grams of potato or 50 grams of whatever, it's going to spike your blood sugar way more than 5 grams of pure sugar. So it's not the food source, it's the volume that's going to have the biggest impact on your blood sugar. And another one that's going to have the biggest impact on your blood sugar, is how you're eating your food. Very few people eat single food meals. We usually eat food in combination. So if you're having protein and vegetables and carbohydrates and some healthy fats, and you have this mixed meal, the combination of all those foods is going to slow the digestion and the absorption of those carbohydrates. So you get a more steady, sustained release into your system. It's not going to just cause that rapid spike in blood sugar. So if you have a well-balanced meal, think of you got some protein, whether it's meat, chicken, fish, whatever, something along that, some good sources of protein. You're getting some vegetables in there. You're getting some fiber. You're getting some healthy fats. And you're also getting your carbohydrates, whether that's rice or potato or pasta or whatever. The combination will slow the release of the carbohydrates and the blood sugar versus if you just ate the rice by itself or you just ate the pasta by itself. So when you eat foods in a balance, it actually is much more, it's a better absorption there. So you get that slow, steady release. But again, just wanted to clarify that. Rice is not made of sugar. All right, moving on. Current news says, thanks a lot. All right. You're welcome. Glad to help. I do agree, but sometimes the more and faster you lose weight, the more you get into it, maybe losing weight fast in the beginning, and when reaching a good percentage, then slow down and make a lifestyle out of it. There is some truth to that for sure, but the thing is you have to look at, can you switch gears? And whenever anybody loses weight, even if you try and do it slow and steady, the initial weight loss comes fast, usually, with very few exceptions, because the initial weight loss is coming from water weight, intestinal bloat, just changing, improving your eating habits. So a lot of people can lose 5+ pounds relatively quickly, and then you actually settle into body fat, because your body can only burn fat so fast, right? Like it's just not going, and it's also going to vary depending on how big you are. Like if someone is 400 pounds and obese, they're going to lose weight much faster, or have the potential to lose weight faster, than someone who's 200 pounds and at an ideal body fat. Like let's say you got a competitive bodybuilder who's trying to diet down and they're 200 pounds at 15% body fat, or you got someone who's 400 pounds and they're 65% body fat. The person who's 400 pounds and 65% has a lot more fat to lose, and they can lose it a lot faster versus the leaner, smaller person. So it's not just how much, it's also a percentage of your body weight. So there's a lot of variables that come into play when it comes to fat loss. Where was I? I lost my place in my chat again. Shit, where was I? James. He needs surgery fast. I just had shoulder surgery and loved it. I think we were talking about shoulder surgery. I believe that was AJ asked questions about shoulder injury. That surgery may be an option, but we got to keep in mind in AJ's situation, if I do recall, the injury happened years ago. So sometimes if it's happened so long ago, it may be an option, but you really need to look at the picture, because sometimes when it starts to heal over, it's not as easy to get the surgery done. DBD, hi. Hello. Excuse me. Reggie's joining in. Reggie's a member of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint. What's a good exercise to strengthen the lower back and sides? My there's a lot, but my personal favorite lower back exercise is the hyperextension, aka back raise. You'll hear it called both. Some people don't like the word hyperextend, but most gyms and most, when you're searching for it, it's called a hyperextension. And it's basically like a sit up for your lower back. to give you, it's a station where you brace your legs and supports, your thighs, and you basically just do a back extension. That's my personal favorite lower back exercise. And the thing I like about it, it's a body weight move. And it's really good for just working the spinal erectors, the glutes, the hamstrings, the whole posterior chain. It's a great exercise. So if you don't have a lower back hyperextension bench, I would recommend getting one, because I know, Reggie, you work out at your home gym, or join a gym that has one, right? And, at least get in there and incorporate that. But that's a fantastic exercise for the lower back. Another one that's really good that you can do in a home gym is good mornings. Good mornings is kind of similar movement pattern. The key with the good mornings, start off light and progress gradually. Right? A lot of people are scared of good mornings, thinks that it's a bad exercise, but it's just starting off light, working within your means, learning to master proper form. And if you do that, then it can be a very safe and effective exercise. Like a lot of powerlifters use good mornings as an assistant exercise to strengthen their squat and deadlift. And it's great for just building up, again, that whole posterior chain. As far as the sides, the obliques, I mean, you can do different exercises. One that's a really good one, that's a functional exercise, is what's known as the suitcase walk. It's like the farmer's walk. You're probably familiar with that. Farmer's walk, you grab 2 heavy dumbbells or kettlebells or whatever and walk. A suitcase walk is you grab one at a time. So it's almost like you're walking with a suitcase, right? You got one side loaded and the other side's not. Because when you're walking with one at a time, like either one dumbbell at a time or one kettlebell at a time, it causes your opposite side to overcompensate. So it's really good for strengthening the core and working the obliques. And it does so in a very functional manner. And it's good for grip strength as well. So that's one of my favorite exercises to do as a nice finishing move to do at the end of a workout, is the suitcase walk. So just grab a heavy dumbbell or heavy kettlebell or whatever, and just walk laps back and forth to the gym. And usually when you're doing farmer's walks or suitcase walks, shoot for about 30 to 40 seconds in duration. So walk back and forth for at least 30 seconds. If it's less than 30 seconds, the weight's too heavy. If it's more than a minute, it's too light. But somewhere like 30 to 40 seconds is kind of like a sweet spot. Try to stay in that range and adjust the weight accordingly. So that's a good one to really work on the sides. But a lot of people tend not to want to overemphasize a whole lot of side work, because there's a school of thought that it can build the waist thicker, right? You build up the obliques, can build the waist thicker. It's unlikely to happen, right? But most people, if their waist is thick, it's probably because it's excess body fat, not because of excess muscle. But there is that school of thought. So sometimes you'll see like competitive bodybuilders and physique models and stuff like that will try and minimize the amount of oblique work that they do, because they're trying to get their waist as thin as possible for the nice aesthetic V-shaped look. But from practical strength and performance and just overall fitness, then it's okay to include different types of oblique and rotational exercises for the midsection. A lot of gyms these days have different abdominal machines that allow you to twist and rotate with resistance. You could even duplicate some of these type of machine or some of those movements at home. Like you see some people maybe use cables and use cable resistance and do, let me close that comment down. Like you hold a cable and kind of do a twist, against cable resistance, or even rubber resistance bands. So you would set up a pulley cable, grab it with the handle, and you just do rotational twists for each side. It's a good one to work, to get that rotational twist in there. But if you're at a gym that has a rotational twist machine, then by all means, you can utilize that as well. But those are some good exercises. And if you want, you can even just do a YouTube search for Lee Hayward lower back exercises, and you'll see some of these movements should pop up in YouTube videos. And if you do a search for Lee Hayward good morning, I've got a video showing how to do the good morning as well, if you're not familiar with how to do that one. All right, moving on. Today makes 5 days when I work out. Okay, so we're the 6th of January. You got 5 days in. Well, you know what? That's pretty darn good. Good job. So you're on track for the 30 by 30, or if you're not, keep going. Like try to make it a daily habit. And I mean, the idea behind this whole 30 by 30 challenge, I mean, like not everybody's going to be able to do work out every single day. Like life's going to get in the way sometimes. Whether you get sick and you can't go to the gym, or there's a snowstorm and you can't get to the gym, or you're just super busy, or you're super tired, or whatever. Like there's always going to be something pop up. But try to make a habit of showing up more often than not. Right? Try and make a habit of being that type of person who shows up consistently. And to kind of put things in perspective, I track my workouts, and in 2022, I had 315 days where I exercised. So that could have been weight training, that could have been cardio, that could have been yoga or stretching or mobility or something. But for 315 days, I exercised. So there's 365 days in a year. So that means I had 50 rest days or 50 non-exercise days. That's less than 1 day a week, right? If you do the math on that. So pretty much 6 days a week, I was active. I was exercising. And if you want to look at your long-term progress, like what are you doing 300 days out of the year? Are you exercising 300 days of the year? Are you on track 300 days of the year? Are you following your nutrition 300 days of the year? If you are, you're going to make progress. It doesn't mean you got to be perfect. Like you can still screw up from time to time, or have a day off, or have a cheat meal, or go out to a restaurant, or enjoy a birthday or a holiday or a whatever. But what are you doing 300 days of the year? Like if you're on track 300 days of the year, that'll give you 65 days to enjoy yourself, right? So that those enjoyment days, or their free choice days, if you will, where hey, I'm not going to exercise today, and I'm going to have free choice with my meals today. If I want to go to a restaurant or a family dinner or enjoy some dessert, I'm going to do so. Those free choice days takes the stress and makes the process more enjoyable. So it takes the stress out of the whole feeling like you're on a crazy extreme diet or crazy extreme workout regimen, or feeling like you're ball and chain trapped to this. And it gives you that flexibility. It's like, it's just like having a day off work. Like you work 5 days a week and you take the weekends off. Those weekends off help rejuvenate you so that you can go through another 5 days of work. Same idea with your fitness, right? You don't have to be perfect every day. You can have some days off, but it's what are you doing most of the time, right? And my personal target is I want to be on track 300 days of the year. And last year I was on track 315 days. So extra bonus. But that's the way you want to approach your fitness and nutrition, is what are you doing 300 days of the year? If you're on track 300 days of the year, then you're making progress. You're moving in the right direction. Vice versa, if it's less than that, like let's say you're on track 100 days of the year. Well, you're probably not making really good progress, or you're probably, saying, well, I'm working out, but I don't really see much change happening, blah, blah, blah. It's because it's not enough. Right? You need to have the ratio tipped so that you're doing more. There's more good days than bad. It's like a balancing act. If there's more good days than bad, you're going to make progress. If there's more bad days than good, you're going to slowly decline. So it's all about that overall ratio and the bigger picture. All right, moving on. Let's see what else we got. Reggie saying thanks. That helped a lot. You're welcome, Reggie. And the Wii was great, but it cheated. Right? The we cheated or you cheated? I don't know. All right, let's see what I got. Martin joining in. Martin's a member of our Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. Says, I rescheduled my weights to tomorrow between the night shifts as it's easier than high cardio on broken rest. Ran 12.6 kilometers today on the 12th day of Christmas in an hour and 35 minutes and felt strong. I credit the program for helping my endurance and resilience. Way to go, man. That is awesome. I got to say, Martin, I tip my hat to you, my friend. If I had a hat, I would tip you, but I'm tipping my virtual hat. Since he came on board with the program, I mean, you've been very consistent with the workouts. And I got to say, it's nice to see the results showing. Like your strength is going up. Your stamina is going up. I know you set a new personal best FTP on the bike the other day. Like the you're putting in the work and the results are showing, right? So, I mean, we really want to keep that positive momentum going. But the big thing that I want to emphasize as well is learn to listen to your body, because when you're pushing, you're pushing your limits. You're really consistent with the workouts. You're really consistent with the cardio, really consistent with the nutrition. It's probably going to get to the point where you do need to take some of those rest days, or at least active recovery days, where it's lower intensity workouts, lower intensity cardio sessions. It's kind of like using that polarized training approach. Like, yeah, there's some days where you're going to push it. You're going to strive for a personal record, and you're going to, if you're on the bike, you're going to push to see if you can hit some new PRs. And then there's other days where you're just literally spinning the legs. You're just going through the motions. It's low intensity, easy. Almost feels like you're wasting your time. It's that easy, right? Because you're not killing yourself. You're not exerting that much effort, but you're still going through the motions. And those sessions are important, because that's building the base, and it's actually aiding with your recovery. It's active recovery. And that's the key, because a lot of times people try and push too much too soon, and they end up burning themselves out. But learning how to balance it, like I mentioned several times throughout this conversation already, knowing how to balance it and stay consistent. That's the key to making this long-term progress. It's not the all or the nothing. It's balancing the in-between. And when you get that right, that's the secret to really making this as a lifestyle change, and not this, on and off. One of my fitness coaches, the way he says it is, we want to be consistently good versus occasionally great. Now, I always had the saying, you want to be good enough, but good enough consistently. But I like how he phrased it as well. Consistently good versus occasionally great. And most people, when it comes to their fitness and nutrition, they're occasionally great, meaning like every now and then when the motivation surge hits and the stars align in the heavens above, then they like, okay, that's it. We're hardcore with the workouts, the diet, everything's on track. And they might be occasionally great for a few weeks or maybe even a few months. And then something derails their motivation and gets them off track. And then it's like, screw it. And then they're off the rails, right? We want to be consistently good, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just had to be consistently good. Good enough consistently, and just making that long-term progress. All right. Eric's saying, have a blessed week, buddy. Much appreciated. And you too. Let's see what else we got. Let's see. CJ, I was watching one of your videos researching on making a workout plan. All right. Well, if you need any help with that, CJ, feel free to email me. I got my email down in the description below, or friend me up on Facebook, and we can chat if you need any help with planning out an action plan to reach your fitness goals this year. Feel free to reach out. And that applies to anyone watching this. If you would like to strategize, have a strategy session and brainstorm some ideas when it comes to your workouts or your nutrition or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me and we can have a chat. All right, let's see what else we got there. Just scrolling through. I'm going to get ready and clue this up, because we've been going for an hour and 22 minutes. I always say I'm going to do this for an hour, and it ends up being way the hell more. What we got? Stanley Studs, and doing a lot of cycling for cardio, and I'll do a 3-day split. Back, shoulders, chest, arms, legs. Cool. Awesome. Much respect. I do a lot of cycling as well. Had a personal best year last year. I cycled through 13,500 and some odd kilometers, which was a huge year for me, my biggest year ever. Because in 2021, I cycled 7,500 kilometers, which was a personal best for me then. But this year, I blew that out of the water with over 13,000. So I had a big year, and I loved it. It was a heck of a lot of fun. Got in the best cardiovascular shape that I've ever been in, and enjoying the process. So again, much respect. All right, guys, I'm going to get ready and clue this up. Hopefully you enjoyed the video chat. I enjoyed doing it, and the replay of this will be posted up along with the timestamps. So if you want to go back and rewatch any of this or rewatch any of the old video chats, you can certainly do so. YouTube has changed the way the chats show up on the YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go to the main Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, and then in the top menu bar, there's a link there that says live. When you click on that live link, it shows the replays of all of our live videos, because these are streamed live. They're not pre-recorded or anything like that. They are live. So if you want to go back and watch the lives, they have them organized in a separate category. And again, all the timestamps and the questions are posted for all of our past video chats. So you can actually open that up in the first comment and scroll through and see what questions were discussed. And if there's anything in particular you want to jump to, you can do so without having to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. Or if you really enjoy listening to me talk, you can watch the whole thing, right? We have literally hundreds upon hundreds of hours of these video chats. So if you want to binge watch, right, Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chats, you could certainly do that. And I guarantee you'll become a very educated person in the process. You'll become a fitness and nutrition guru yourself. All right, so I'm going to clue it up, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video chat, and I'll be back again next Friday. We'll be going live at 5 again. Have yourself a great weekend, and stay consistent with this 30 by 30 New Year's challenge. All right, I've been consistent. I got my 6 workouts in, January 6th, 6 days of fitness in, and I'm committed to making a full 30 days over the course of January to hit my 30 by 30. So 30 minutes of exercise minimum for the next 30 days. That's the goal. And I'm sharing my progress over on Facebook. So if you haven't already done so, friend me up over on Facebook, and we can stay in touch over there as well. I'm going to clue it up, and I will talk to you next time. Take care. Over and out. End the broadcast.